Hey, I'm Alex Radical from Board Game Co. and happy Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, all the various holiday weekend things to those who celebrate, and by celebrate I mean both the holidays as well as spending money on whatever things you want. Speaking of spending money on whatever things you want, this is your PAX Unplugged preview list, kind of, sort of. This is my PAX Unplugged preview list. This is going to be me showcasing 10 games coming up at PAX Unplugged that I want you to know about. Or more specifically, I'm going to actually divide this up into two groups. I'm going to have 5 games that I really enjoy, I love, I want you to know about these games and check them out if you haven't had a chance. And then I have 5 games that I'm personally interested in, you might be interested in as well, but these 5 are ones that I want to see and try, and I'll tell you more about why. I'm going to break that up into 2 halves. This is probably going to be a fairly quick video. I'm not going to be doing a giant 20 games at PAX Unplugged. I will be at PAX Unplugged as usual. If you do see me and you want to say hi, by all means stop me. Sometimes I'm seen like I'm rushing, and that does happen, but I'm always happy to say hi to anyone who does see me and wants to interact. But past that, let's go ahead and dive into this. As usual, I'll be starting off with the BGG page for the PAX Unplugged preview. I highly recommend checking out BGG for any convention. They usually do a great job of consolidating the various titles that will be on offer at the conventions. It is up to the publishers to add things, so there always are gaps, especially if publishers don't add things, but very often, if you want to see the games that will be showcased, this is a great way to do so. You can sort by popularity, which is usually what I do, but I do like scrolling through to find what hidden gems I missed or what things got added at the last minute. There's currently 390 titles on this list as of right now. I wonder if that got higher. Let me see if I refreshed recently. Sometimes I refresh before the video, sometimes not. But we have 390 titles currently on this list. Over the next few days, we may have more added, and I know there's games at PAX Unplugged that aren't on this list because I'm going to be showing you one of them. But definitely check this out. You can sort, you can save, you can filter, you can see what's available for sale, what's available for demo, all of that. Generally recommend checking this out. But with that, we're going to start with a few things. First, I'm going to start with the one that isn't on this list. I happened to get an email from a publisher that said, check out To Embers. That will be at PAX Unplugged. I know nothing about this game. It's also kind of cut off in the shot I'm seeing, but sorry about that. But To Embers over here, let's see if we can pull it back. There we go. To Embers. This is going to be available at PAX Unplugged. I assume to demo, not to buy. But it looks cool. The BG list for this game looks cool, looks interesting. I don't know much more about it, but it literally just showed up in my email from the publisher, and I was like, this should be on the PAX Unplugged list because the cover art's pulling me in. The concept of the game, let's see what we said over here. It says things like, a groundbreaking strategy game designed for 1 to 4 players where every move counts and narrative choices shape your destiny. Which, again, granted, every game under the planet that does things like that will say that, but overall, the starting off point, the presentation, is a good start, so I'm already interested. Don't know much more about it. Like I said already, this was not on the PAX Unplugged preview list, but this should be available at PAX Unplugged. Secondly, before we dive into the 10 games, I'm going to do another shout out to a personal friend of mine, to Grant Lyon, who's going to have Kind of a Big Dill available there. Grant Lyon, who you may know him from Grant's Game Rex, he does weekly videos on, he's a, first of all, board game comedian, he's a comedian in general as well, and he does weekly videos on games coming to retail, which I highly recommend checking out, especially if you are in any way sick of the crowdfunding world. The retail world is very much covered by him and his games coming to retail every single week video. Past that, he's also a game designer. He's done several games, and his newest game is Kind of a Big Dill, a party game of stretching the truth. The basic idea of this game is you're going to be handed something and a level of braggadociousness, either for or against, meaning you have to kind of state how good you are, either plus or minus. So it might be something like how good you are at, I don't know, how good you are at, I can't even think of something off. I'm kind of stuck in the moment. How good you are at throwing parties. And then there's going to be a level of braggadociousness you have to have, again, whatever your level is, and plus or minus. So you can make it sound really bad, make it sound really good, and then players are trying to guess what you actually are. Like, what number were you? Were you trying to be very good at it, very bad at it? What's your actual level? But that is Kind of a Big Dill, a party game about stretching the truth, because you're kind of a big dill. That will be available at PAX Unplugged from a personal friend of mine. Moving on from there, we're going to have the 5 games. I'm going to start with the 10 games. I'm going to start with the 5 that I personally played. I think they're excellent. I think you should check them out. Yes, these lists are both ranked, 2 mini lists of 5 and 5, and they are both ranked in terms of most to least over here, or least to most, I guess. But starting off, we have Endeavor Deep Sea from Burnt Island Games. This is the newest version of Endeavor, Endeavor Age of Sail. They re-implemented it into Endeavor DC, which I think is a better version of the game. I still have both. I do not plan on keeping both, but I did want to keep Endeavor. I like Endeavor Age of Sail enough that I wanted to hold on to it until I could kind of play both of them back to back and then like really see how I feel like similarly about them. But I do think Endeavor Deep Sea does win. I think it's a better version of the game. They do a bunch of things that are more interesting, but overall, both Endeavor games are fantastic if you have a chance to check them out, and Endeavor Deep Sea is the one that is currently available. It's going to have a very, very fast-paced action selection system where you're trying to build out your tableau through the use of these officers that are going to give you new abilities as you try to figure out how to keep all your currencies going as you descend further and further into the depths of the ocean, trying to take the right combination of actions that will earn you the most points at the end of the game. They have their interesting little research sideboards, which is their own little mini puzzles to go through, but definitely check it out. Again, it's currently rated at an 8.3. I'm surprised it doesn't say re-implemented. Like, BGG usually does a good job saying re-implemented, and this is like definitely re-implemented from Endeavor Age of Sail. I'm curious, what's the rating on Endeavor Age of Sail? And I'll grant, by the way, the 8.3 over here. Generally, new crowdfunding games do have a little bit of a burst, and that goes down over time, so take that with a grain of salt. But Endeavor Age of Sail is coming in at 7.9, although again with more ratings to it, so that might even out over time. I assume it will, but it definitely does seem to be very well received. Check out Endeavor Deep Sea from Burnt Island Games if you haven't had a chance to do so yet. Then we have Creature Caravans. Creature Caravans coming to you from Red Raven Games. I should have a review coverage coming for this soon. I've talked about it in several videos, but I have not done a dedicated review on it. But Creature Caravans is possibly my favorite Red Ravens game. It has card combinations, which is something I love in games, where you're all about the different cards you're trying to earn as you go on this 12-day journey and trying to collect these 12 cards and figure out how these cards fit into your tableau and just combining them. It has a little bit of a vibe of Everdell, where our first cards seem really expensive, but as your engine powers up, you're going to realize you only have room for 12 cards, and you need to maximize the points you can get out of those cards, which leads to a fascinating puzzle as you're going on this journey. You are ultimately trying to move from one side of the board to the other. You don't have to finish it, but there are extra points if you do, and you're trying to figure out the right combination of cards to get along the way that will help you in this journey as you fight various beasts, as you trade at the marketplace, and as you collect the perfect combination of cards that will power up your engine. That gives the game a lot of replayability, because the way you can combine 12 cards in this entire deck of 134 cards is an absolute ton, and you're trying to figure out that perfect combination. The game will be easily expandable as well, I assume, because like just add more cards and you have tons more gameplay content. But as it is, there's a ton of game over here. It has a solo mode as well, which I haven't dove into myself yet, but I've enjoyed this. I've enjoyed this at 2 players, at 3 players, and at 4 players, and think it's an excellent game at all those player counts. Definitely check out Creature Caravans from Red Raven Games. We have Skyrise from Roxley. Skyrise is one that I liked when I covered it during the prototype phase, and I have liked it even more since then. This is a game, I should play this today. I don't know if I will, but I should play this today. I want to play this today. We'll see if I do. I don't know. But Skyrise is a fantastic game that has a bidding mechanism that is very unique. There's only 2 games that I know that do it. There's Skyrise, well technically there's Metropolis, which is Skyrise is based on, but that's the same game effectively. There's differences, but the same game in my head. And then there's the one from Flat Out Games. Flat Out Games has one that I'm blanking on the name. What is it called? Darn it, it's on my shelf somewhere. It's Nocturne. Nocturne over there. Nocturne from Flat Out Games uses the same bidding mechanism. And it's a bidding mechanism in which you're not bidding on the thing you want, you're bidding to take the thing away from the person, but then you have to be bidding on something else. Because of the movement nature of it, to outbid involves moving the token, and therefore you're bidding on something else, which produces these fascinating kind of dynamics in play, where you can force somebody into a situation that was good for you and bad for them, and that kind of clever play really allows for a lot of opportunity, and the nature of the boxing in that can happen in Skyrise, there's a lot of clever play happening in this 60 to 90 minute experience. It says 30 to 90 minutes. I don't know who is playing Skyrise in 30 minutes, but it's an incredible game. Has great production value. I highly recommend this game if you have an opportunity to do so. It's one that, again, it has grown for me more and more since, like, this is one where I might re-review the game at some point. I don't know, because like I reviewed it during the prototype phase, but my opinion has gone up since then. I don't know. Maybe I'll just do, I've done a series in the past where I cover crowdfunding games post them arriving and me giving quick thoughts on like 5 of them. Maybe I'll do that if I get another bunch of them in the mix. But Skyrise is fantastic. Definitely recommend checking it out. We have Unconcious Mind coming in at an 8 currently on BGG. This is the newest arrival to my collection. I haven't even played my copy yet. I do need to plan around when I'm playing my copy, but Unconcious Mind from Fantasia Games is absolutely fantastic. And Fantasia Games, I've loved Endless Winter. I've loved Endless Winter, and I think I like Unconcious Mind more. I say I think because I always have that caveat when, like, Unconcious Mind is a game I've played like 4 times maybe, and Endless Winter is a game I've played much more than that, so I'm always mindful of giving too much credit to a newer Cult of the New game. But I do think Unconscious Mind combines things absolutely beautifully. The synergy of this worker placement game and the way everything comes together, the way you're building out your personal tableau and your little things that will move around a circle and give you extra bonuses every single time you take an action. There's so much synergy going on in this game. Both Unconscious Mind and Endless Winter do suffer from a lot of moving parts, but I think the moving parts in Unconscious Mind fit together together even more smoothly than in Endless Winter. Endless Winter, it always felt a little disparate. It kind of comes together, but it feels a bit messy. And Unconscious Mind feels absolutely beautiful as it all comes together. It works incredibly. It's an amazing game. The 8.0 rating is well received. I think Dice Tower gave it like 3 9s. Like they had 3 people reviewing it. I gave it all 9s, and it deserves it. It is definitely one you should recommend. It's one of those games. It's not going to work for everyone, and I have seen some people critical of the solo mode. I haven't played that. Some people, I don't know what the overall rating of the solo mode is, but I've definitely seen some feedback on that. But if you have a chance to check this out, it's definitely worth doing so. Maybe if you're a solo player, it might be a try before you buy. But ultimately, Unconscious Mind, check it out at PAX Unplugged if you're there. And then moving on to our number 5 over here, the highest one over there is going to be, honestly, I probably should have put Unconscious Mind higher, but either way, The Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth. Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth coming in at an 8.5. It has the highest rating on BGG, I'll say that much. It's a re-implementation of Seven Wonders Duel, taking the Seven Wonders Duel system and re-implementing it into the Lord of the Rings universe. And sometimes that can go horribly. In this case, it's going incredibly well. It manages to take the core thematic approach to the Lord of the Rings and distill it to Seven Wonders Duel and combines a perfect, not perfect, but an excellent game system that really feels like a beautiful blending of theme and mechanics. Because the premise of Seven Wonders Duel is always at this 3 paths to victory. You can go with science, you can go with military, or you can go with points. Those are your 3 paths to victory. And they took that and put that into the Lord of the Rings universe, and you have the chasing of the ring, you have getting support from the clans of Middle-earth, and then you have, why am I blanking on the last way to win? Oh, and control over the actual Middle-earth itself. So you have that military premise, you have support from the factions, and then you have the actual ring, and whether you're hunting down Frodo and taking the ring, or whether you're throwing the ring into the mountains or whatever it is. And so overall, the Lord of the Rings manages to thematically merge the systems from Seven Wonders Duel into the Lord of the Rings universe, and does so in a way that produces an excellent game experience that I think really delivers on all fronts. It's not a perfect game. I think there are elements of Seven Wonders Duel that are better than Lord of the Rings Duel, but there's elements of Lord of the Rings Duel that are better than Seven Wonders Duel, but both of them deliver an excellent game system that I think is highly worth your time and attention, and definitely one that you should play. You should play this game. If you like Seven Wonders Duel, you should play this game. If you've never played Seven Wonders Duel, you should play this game. If you hate Seven Wonders Duel, maybe you can go ahead and skip on this game. But these are the 5 games at PAX Unplugged that I already like and recommend, and recommend, and think you should check out. And then we move on to the 5 that are far less certain as far as recommendations go, because I haven't played these games. Well, I've played sort of one of them. We'll talk about it soon, but let's go ahead and dive into these, again, starting from least to most excited. Coming at number 5, we have Terraria the board game. I expect to be let down by this game, which is why it's coming at number 5. Nothing against them. I just think taking the universe of Terraria and putting it into a board game form, I just don't see how well that actually works. I think that, traditionally speaking, when you've taken Minecraft and put it into board games, the Minecraft board games have always been a letdown. They're not fun, but they're not Minecraft. They're like, hey, let's take this Minecraft universe and throw it into a board game. Similarly, I think Terraria is likely going to fall to the same thing, but I don't know that. I'm just assuming that. But the difference between this year and last year, because they had this at PAX Unplugged last year, but at PAX Unplugged last year, I had never played Terraria, versus this year, my son loves Terraria, and by extension, I have been forced to play through a decent amount of Terraria, and I enjoy it. I think I'm more of a I know I'm more of a Factorio person, but I do enjoy the Terraria universe and digging down and discovering and exploring, and I'm excited to see what they actually did with this now that I actually know how Terraria operates, whereas last year I didn't. So I'm excited to see more about this. I don't have high expectations. That's not a fault on them. It's the nature of the type of game this is, and whether I think that will or won't work, but nonetheless, I'm still excited to see it. We also have Point Galaxy coming from Flatout Games. Point Galaxy, Flatout Games will actually be putting out several games at PAX Unplugged. They have Point Galaxy, they have this other one that's a new one, and they also have Cascadia Jr., which from AEG, which will be out. So they have several games that are worth paying attention to. I chose Point Galaxy as the one I wanted to feature here because I liked their last game, the Point City, I believe it was. I felt it was very similar to Splendor, and so in terms of the vibe it gave, but I liked the overall set collection aspect, and Point Galaxy is going to have a similar kind of concept, but different. They had Point Salad, Point City, and now Point Galaxy. You're going to be taking any 2 cards from a dynamic market and add them to your expanding galaxy, which is going to create solar systems by arranging planets as you go in order to earn points, collect suns, asteroids, all these things. I don't know much more about it, but the premise of it, since I already like Point City, I am very interested in Point Galaxy and curious to see how it will deliver for me. Moving on from there, we have Hubworld Aidolon. This is coming to you from Earthborn Games, who have done Earthborn Rangers. Because of that, I'm very intrigued by this. It's a non-collectible competitive card game. They're aiming for that LCG universe type situation. They're not calling it an LCG because that's a Fantasy Flight term, but that's coming to me from a team that's from Fantasy Flight, so they have that knowledge and experience, but I'm very interested to see their take on it. I think LCGs can be incredibly well done. Marvel Champions to this day remains one of my favorite games in my collection, and I'm intrigued to see how Earthborn Games, especially with what they've done with Earthborn Rangers and how well that's been received, I'm intrigued to see more about Hubworld Aidolon and see how good this game is. I don't know a ton about it. I just know it's an LCG. You're a seeker. You're a by seeker cards. You have a 36-star card deck that you're constructing. So again, loose pillow points, but very intrigued specifically because of the Earthborn Rangers and how well that was received. Moving on to number 2, we have Diatoms. Already very well received over here as far as the rating. Diatoms is one that's been on my radar since it was on crowdfunding. This is a very interesting game. I think it's picked up by, who picked this up? 25th Century, I believe? Someone picked it up as far as the publisher. Let me see over here. Publisher 20th Century. 20th Century picked up this game. They'll be having it at PAX Unplugged. But Diatoms was one that was on crowdfunding and seemed to lean into that kind of puzzly nature of games you get from Cascadia, like a Duel, all of that. A very interesting mechanism as far as how you slot things down as this little like Duel board. It seemed incredibly intriguing and different in a very crowded space. I was intrigued when I saw it on crowdfunding, and I'm excited to see the high ratings the game has been getting, and I'm excited to see 20th Century's copy of it because this type of game experience has always worked for me, and I'm just curious to see whether this will be another one that works for me or one that gets lost in the very, very crowded field. And then my number 1 over here is one that I haven't played with an asterisk. You see, this is the Fellowship of the Ring, the trick-taking game, which they've already announced. Office Dog has announced that they have several games coming in this series. I believe they're planning the full arc of the 3 Lord of the Rings universe. So I'll have the Fellowship of the Ring, the Twin Towers, and that's where I can say that I've had a chance to demo the Twin Towers at one point. So I have had a chance to see this kind of concept. I don't know what the Fellowship of the Ring does differently, but we are looking at a very the crew-style cooperative trick-taking game where you are basically looking at trying to complete these missions, but it's in the Lords of the Ring universe. And it has not missed my attention here that my number 1 in both these lists of the ones I recommend and the ones I want to try for myself are both games that are Lord of the Rings. I guess it's a good year for Lord of the Rings in board games, but these are both excellent adaptations. They are not cash cows. They're not cashing in on an IP for the sake of selling you stuff. They are good implementations of great games. I can't speak for Fellowship of the Ring because I haven't played that one, but from what I've seen of it, it has enough of the similar DNA that I'm very, very excited to play this. Again, the idea of a trick-taking game that is the crew, but in the Lord of the Rings universe with more thematic immersions, where the missions matter more and it's not just about variable strength, has me very excited for this. The art looks beautiful, the production looks beautiful, the ratings in it are incredibly strong so far. Granted, only 34 ratings, so take it with a grain of salt, but I expect this to do incredibly well because the crew is done incredibly well, and this is that, but with the Lord of the Rings IP, art, and universe, which is always going to be a good boost. Between these and the Lord of the Rings Confrontation being announced as a re-implementation of that as well, so it's a good year for Lord of the Rings in the board game universe, although it's always a good year for Lord of the Rings. Apparently, Amazon's doing what it needs to do with all that. Does Amazon own the Lord of the Rings at this point? Is that have they bought the entire license? I don't actually know the details of that, or did they just buy? I don't actually know. I don't know. Anyways, these are your PAX Unplugged list over here. These are my 10 picks for you to check out at PAX Unplugged. 5 that I've tried and recommend, and 5 that I'm very interested in and probably recommend, but with the various caveats, especially with Terraria. Nothing against Terraria. It might be great. I have a hard time seeing if they can pull it off, but I'm interested despite that. I'll probably be getting it regardless. Anyways, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. Like I said already, I hope you have an excellent holiday weekend. Enjoy your shopping, enjoy your sales, enjoy your time with loved ones and all of that. And as always, I hope you have a good one.